Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're constructing a side for you made up of players let go by their club far too early. Let's go. Goalkeeper, Paulo Lopez. An Espanyol player from the age of 12, Paulo Lopez made his debut for the B team in 2013-14, before earning the number 1 spot for the first team 2 seasons later, at just 21 years old. However, after just one campaign as the main man between the sticks, Lopez opted for a loan switch to Tottenham. Having been enticed by Mauricio Pochettino's project at White Hart Lane, the Girona-born stopper struggled, making 0 appearances and not even trumping Michel Vorm as the club's number 2. This didn't stop Spurs putting in a bid to make the move permanent, but the then 22-year-old opted to return to his parent club and instantly reclaimed the number 1 spot from veteran Diego Lopez. With just 1 year remaining on his contract, now was the time for the Catalan club to tie the talented youngster down to a new deal. But they didn't, and Pau once again up sticks at the end of the campaign. He signed for Real Betis for free, and the Andalusians implemented a €30 million buyout clause in his contract and have now sold Lopez to Roma for €23.5 million. Despite not getting the maximum fee, El Glorioso still made a sizable profit after just 1 year of service, while Espanyol made 0 monetary gain from 11 years of nurture and investment. Defender, Lucio. It's fair to say that Louis van Gaal was not the most popular man during his 2-year stint at Bayern Munich. Despite leading the club to a League and Cup double in his first campaign, promoting Thomas Müller to the first team and converting Bastian Schweinsteiger into a central midfielder, the Dutch coach was sacked in April 2011, with the club sitting outside of the Champions League qualification places and a fair few players disillusioned with his dictator-like approach to management. Within weeks of taking the job, Van Gaal made his first mistake, deciding defender Lucio was surplus to requirements and selling him to Inter Milan for just €7 million. While the Brazilian had just turned 31, he remained the club's best centre-half and certainly didn't deserve this kind of treatment. He later said, "Van Gaal has hurt me more than anyone else in football." And the sale came back to bite Bayern. Lucio was one of a number of bargains had by Jose Mourinho in the summer of 2009, along with Thiago Motta, Wesley Sneijder and Samuel Eto'o, also arriving at the San Siro for well below market value. The man Van Gaal had disregarded so easily became a crucial component of a historic season, clocking up over 4,000 minutes and playing all but one game in the Champions League, as the side overcame Ancelotti's Chelsea and Pep's Barca to reach the final. After beating Bayern in the final, Lucio helped Inter complete the first treble in their history, in doing so denying the Bavarians the chance to claim theirs. Before we move on to our next pick in defence, make sure you subscribe to Football Daily and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Defender, Jerome Boateng. Before moving to the Premier League in 2010, Jerome Boateng was signed by Manchester City from Hamburg, the same club Vincent Kompany had come from 2 years earlier. But unlike the Belgian, the German international struggled to hold down a place under Roberto Mancini, missing the start and end of the campaign through injury and being played out of position for many of the games he was available. With Kolo Touré and Jolien the Scot generally preferred as Kompany's partner, options were limited for Boateng, who was 21 at the time and desperate for regular minutes. Bayern Munich came calling, and he was an instant hit at the Allianz, appearing 48 times in his first campaign in Bavaria, where he remains after 8 seasons, having won a Champions League and 7 Bundesliga titles in a row. And while City have also experienced their own historic successes in that time, there's no denying they lost a great talent in Boateng, whose departure sparked the beginning of years of trying and failing to find a sound centre-back contingent at the Etihad. Between 2014 and 2017, a leaky backline effectively cost the club titles, and before signing John Stones and Aymeric Laporte under Guardiola, City fans had to endure the likes of Nastasic, Di Michelis and Mangala, all far inferior defenders to Boateng. Defenders, fans' choice. We've left our final backline slot up for you to decide. Which defender has been a great loss to your club over the years? Let us know in the comments with the hashtag #fanschoice. Midfield, Claude Makelele. The bedrock of Jose Mourinho's all-powerful Chelsea team in the mid-2000s, Claude Makelele was perhaps the best out-and-out defensive midfielder of his generation, and his honours list reflects this. 1 Ligue 1 title, 2 La Ligas, 2 Premier Leagues and 1 Champions League and a World Cup final appearance. However, the Frenchman was not always valued as highly as he should have been, with his hard work and tenacity in the centre of the park neglected in favour of the glitz and glamour of David Beckham, who arrived at the Bernabeu for around €30 million in the summer of 2003. Despite being a crucial component of Real's first team, clocking up nearly 150 appearances in 3 seasons, Makelele was considered a necessary sacrifice for the expense of the Beckham transfer and was subsequently sold to Chelsea. As Zinedine Zidane put it, why put another layer of gold paint on the Bentley when you were losing the entire engine? And he was right. Without their defensive shield, Los Blancos went 4 years without major silverware, while Makelele enjoyed a trophy-laden 5 seasons at Stamford Bridge. Florentino Perez clearly learned from his mistakes, making Casemiro one of the constants in Real's Champions League dominance of the early 2010s. Midfield, Thiago Alcantara. Thiago Alcantara's career at Bayern Munich has been stop-start thanks to injuries, but he remains one of the greatest technical midfielders of the last decade. His 78 passes per game is by far the best for a midfielder in the Bundesliga, with Dortmund's Axel Witsel next best on 68, and his 8.1 successful long balls a match with an outstanding 82% accuracy is only beaten by Toni Kroos in Europe. Add to that 2.1 dribbles, 1.5 key passes, and 4.9 tackles and interceptions in a side which averages over 60% possession, and you have a man who at 28 is still at the peak of his powers despite numerous setbacks. These stats also illustrate how perfect a replacement Thiago would have been for Xavi at Barcelona, and yet the Catalan Giants decided to sell him in 2013. The draw of working under Pep Guardiola again was clearly too enticing for the La Masia graduate, especially when he was the coach's #1 target. But Barca should have done more to keep hold of the prodigious talent. With Xavi already 33 and Iniesta approaching 30, the Blaugrana midfield was primed for its next generation to take hold. Over the next 2 years, Cesc Fabregas was sold to Chelsea, and the aforementioned Xavi left for Qatar. And while Ivan Rakitic proved himself as a solid signing, the only other reinforcement brought in during that time was Arda Turan, discounting Andre Gomez and Paulinho. This only led to the side becoming ever more reliant on Lionel Messi, a dilemma which has recently been addressed with the acquisitions of Arta and Frenkie de Jong. Midfield, Pablo Sarabia. The most recent sale on our list, Pablo Sarabia's transfer to PSG, has to go down as one of summer 2019's biggest bargains. And while the move was sealed with the triggering of his €18 million buyout clause, Sevilla surely could have done more to secure the Spaniard's long-term future. A permanent fixture in the side following his move from Getafe in 2016, Sarabia scored 42 goals and got 30 assists in 151 appearances, contributing to a goal every other game from attacking midfield, exploding in 2018-19, where he averaged a goal involvement every 109 minutes. Accounting for over 40% of the side's total output in the league. Having failed to tie down the former Real Madrid man to a new contract, Los Hispalenses decided a move this summer would be better than losing him for free when his deal ran out in 2020. And while they've invested over €100 million in the squad already this summer, with much of that going to the attack, the club will likely struggle to replace Sarabia's creativity going forward. In fact, of players still at the club, only Ever Banega averaged more than 1.5 key passes a game in 2018-19, and he's now 31. Midfielder, Jonathan Ikone. But PSG may never have needed to sign Sarabia had they kept hold of one of their most promising assets. A graduate of their esteemed academy system, Jonathan Ikone made his debut for Le Parisien in 2016, but never broke into the side due to an embarrassment of attacking riches at the Parc des Princes. After a relatively unsuccessful 2 seasons at Montpellier on loan, Ikone was sold to Lille on a permanent in 2018, heading to the Stade Pierre-Mauroy for €5 million. And in just 1 season of playing for Les Dogs, the 21-year-old has flourished, appearing in every one of the club's Ligue 1 fixtures and directly contributing to 12 goals. While this is not an extraordinary output, the attacking mid's performance will inevitably improve with more experience, especially when tasked for making up with a lost output of Nicolas Pepe, who is set to leave Lille this summer. And with an excellent under-21 Euros tournament under his belt with France, Ikone's stock is now higher than ever, with the Football Observatory valuing him between 40 and 50 million euros. Clearly, PSG shouldn't have lost their faith in the youngster. A loan move could have been very profitable in the long term. Forward, Serge Gnabry. One of the most drastic career turnarounds of recent years, Serge Gnabry joined Arsenal in 2011 at just 16 years old and was one of Germany's most exciting teenagers. But it never worked at the Emirates, with the youngster playing less than 500 minutes for the Gunners over the course of 3 seasons, with a loan move to West Brom yielding 0 starts. A €5 million move to Werder Bremen followed, and Gnabry instantly took to life in the Bully, hitting double figures in his first season, and repeated the feat in the following 2 campaigns at 2 different clubs. Having been acquired by Bayern Munich in 2017 for just €8 million, and developing under Julian Nagelsmann while alone at Hoffenheim, the 8-capped international returned to the Allianz in 18-19 and thrived. Gnabry was directly involved in 15 goals as the Bavarians saw off the challenge of Dortmund to retain the Bundesliga title, and he sustained an expected goal contribution of nearly 1 a game. Remarkably, he was voted the fans' player of the season, ahead of Joshua Kimmich and Robert Lewandowski, and with 7 goals for the national side to boot, he is entering his peak years in full power. Pretty ironic given that the right side has been one of Arsenal's weaknesses over the last few seasons. Forward, Diego Costa. Since Didier Drogba was finding the net at the most crucial moments for Chelsea in the noughties, the Blues have struggled to find a fiery forward to head their attack. The cursed number 9 wearers have included Fernando Torres, Radamel Falcao and most recently Alvaro Morata. While Diego Costa now finds himself on the fringes of Atletico Madrid's side, scoring just 2 La Liga goals in 18-19, he might have proved slightly more useful had he stayed in London. While wearing blue, the Brazilian-born Spain international found some of his most lethal form. In 2014-15, he scored 20 goals in 24 starts, contributed 18 goals in the following term, and in his final season added 27 goal contributions to the Blues' championship-winning run. After falling out with Antonio Conte, Costa was sold to his former employees for nearly £60 million. But the Italian lasted just one more season at the Bridge, and Costa's replacement, Alvaro Morata, failed to settle in England. Scoring just 15 goals in all competitions for Chelsea, the former Real Madrid man headed back to Spain to lick his wounds, joining the very same squad that Costa had been wasting away in. If Chelsea had clung on to the bullish striker and he'd outlived Conte, he might have saved them time and money, although owing to his recent fitness, we highly doubt it, so maybe we're reaching a little bit here. Forward, Arjen Robben. With summer 2019 finally marking the end of Arjen Robben's career, the Dutchman bows out as one of the modern game's greatest wingers, with 210 goals in 606 appearances. Pretty amazing, considering he never managed as many as 30 league games in a season after leaving PSV in 2004. Robben is also the only player we can name to have won the Premier League, the Bundesliga and La Liga. If you can name any more, let us know in the comments below. One of the stars of Mourinho's Chelsea, the Blues collected around £25 million when he left for Real Madrid in 2007. A decent fee for the time, but less than £10 million more than the £16 million they paid for him 3 years earlier. Furthermore, his sale was largely the result of the huge outlay spent on Andrei Shevchenko, who was ultimately a flop at Stamford Bridge. Then, after being moved on to the Bernabeu to offset the cost of Ronaldo's arrival, Robben truly hit his peak while at Bayern Munich, around the time that Eden Hazard made his way to West London. We can't bear to think what a combination that would have been. So guys, that was our players your club shouldn't have sold XI. Who have we left out? Let us know in the comments below and we might make a part 2. If you enjoyed this, then click on screen right now for the Great Football Daily video. Make sure you subscribed and take care.